James drove his RAV4 hybrid into the frozen wilderness. The scent of his jerky attracted a hungry wolf pack behind him. To survive, he had to remain fearless. He would hunt with them and expand their territory. He'd form a bond with a wolf named Acalia, become den mother, and nurse their young. James left in search of his next adventure. How far will you take the all-new RAV4 hybrid? Toyota, let's go places.
Hey there and welcome to SI Now. It's Friday, May 26th, and I'm Ryan Aselta. Got a great show lined up for you as we head into this Memorial Day weekend. A's pitcher Sean Doolittle is going to tell us about a very important project he's working on. Plus, we're going to catch up with radio host Charlamagne the God. But we begin in the NBA where the finals matchup is now set. The Cavs blowout win over the Celtics on Thursday night sets up the showdown we've been waiting for. Cavs, Warriors, Part 3. Let's welcome in our SI NBA analyst, Jordan Schultz. And Jordan, in the process of leading Cleveland to their third straight NBA Finals appearance, LeBron overtakes MJ for the all-time playoff scoring record. He's had quite the run here, this playoff stretch that he's on right now. Let's talk about that record. He's already been in the conversation for greatest of all time with MJ. How does last night's accomplishment impact that conversation?
I just think it cements him again because now whenever you pass a name like Michael Jordan, you start to go to the historical relevance. And that's, to me, the big thing with LeBron. He's always been an NBA history buff. He talks about, and he has talked about, what it means for him to surpass a guy like Michael Jordan with any number, especially all-time playoff points. And this is the difference. He's 32, MJ was 34. And what LeBron's done, going to 7 straight finals, only time in the NBA era that's happened, modern era, that, to me, is just showing, again, this guy not only is putting the team on his back, but he's doing it with these numbers that we can't even comprehend right now because they're so incredible. So, I think right now you have to say he's absolutely in the top 2 discussion between him or MJ. And I talked to a GM who said that he thought not only is LeBron the best ever, but he thinks he's maybe starting to separate. And that, to me, is incredible at 32 years old.
You say cements himself.
Yeah.
Cements himself in that conversation or cements himself ahead of MJ?
Oh, I think more so in the conversation for sure. That's just me talking.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But like you think about Magic and Bird and Russell and Kareem. Like I think he's already surpassed these guys, even though he only has the 3 championships. Bird had 3. I think with LeBron, if he does it this year against a Golden State team with potentially at least 2 Hall of Famers on that team. Then you start to think about how special it is, if you go back in time and think about what MJ did in the 90s. Like, this is just as impressive, especially going to 7 straight finals.
Interesting, though. LeBron used 33 more ball games to break that record.
I know.
33 more games for MJ. That's about 900 more points.
But that's more playoff games that he's been
there more times. You're right. Well, after Game 5, LeBron talked openly about breaking MJ's record and how he idolized and tried to emulate Jordan as a kid. Take a listen.
I did pretty much everything that MJ did when I was a kid. I shot fadeaways before I should have. I wore a leg sleeve on my leg and folded it down so you saw the red part.
For no reason.
I wore black and red shoes with white socks. I wore short shorts so you could see my undershorts underneath. I didn't go bald like Mike, but I'm getting there. But I'm getting there. But it'd be post-career, though. That's the only thing I didn't do. But other than that, I did everything Mike did. I even wore a wristband on my forearm.
He's getting there. I think he's there, but we're not going to get into that,
right? The thing he didn't do, by the way, was MJ would always wear the Carolina shorts, but LeBron didn't go to college. So maybe he wears the same.
He's got to wear the St. Mary, St. Vince. Yeah, exactly. You listen to him talk like that. So many haters out there when it comes to LeBron. Critics, they are all over the place. When you listen to him last night talk about MJ, does it almost humanize him a little bit?
Yeah, and I think he's been going down that road more and more, especially last year when he won. He came good. He went down from 3-1 and delivered on his promise to bring a championship back to Cleveland, Ryan. That is like, he's becoming more and more likable, I think. And forget passing MJ with the scoring. It's passing Kidd on the all-time playoff assist record, passing Hakeem on the all-time playoff rebounding record. I mean, these are unbelievable numbers, and he's also doing it in a way that I think is very humble. You know, he comes back home. He talked about Miami and what that was like his college. What he's doing now in Cleveland, potentially going back-to-back, is incredible. This franchise has been one of the least successful franchises of the past 30, 40 years, and look what he's been able to give them on his first stint and now on his second, potentially going back-to-back.
You know, when you look at that record, I love that this is a conversation, first of all, because it's a legitimate conversation now that's going to continue the next couple of years. But MJ 6 for 6 in the finals. LeBron 3 wins, 4 losses in the finals. He goes to his 8th. So the debate is going to continue. Let me ask you about LeBron as far as his game right now. Comes off this series, averaged 29 points per game in 5 games against the Celtics. That includes the dud in Game 3. Could he actually be playing his best basketball of the season, maybe some of the best basketball of his career?
The latter. I think the best basketball of his career. And what's incredible about LeBron right now is he's doing it not just with the athleticism. He's found a way to do what the really all-time greats do, including Michael Jordan, which is transition from being super athleticism dominant, Ryan, to figuring out ways to impact the game where you don't need to always rely on your athleticism. You see there in the post, how good has he been in down in the block, the passing, the pick and roll. You know, he can defer early and get guys involved. He can score early. So what I think right now, not only is he his most comfortable, I think far and away he's his most confident because he's doing it and impacting the game in so many different ways. Let's
talk a little bit about this matchup. It's early, doesn't get going till next Thursday.
I know, it's a killer.
We got a few days to catch your breath a little bit, especially a guy like you who lives and breathes NBA right now. But third installment of this series. What do you expect initially when looking at this matchup?
Well, Golden State, the idea that they're just going to run away, I think is false. You know, people have said the Warriors are the best team, the best players. I don't see that happening. Cleveland's playing great. They're 12-1 in the playoffs, but it's also the other parts. Not only, you know, the ancillary parts, but look at what Kevin Love and Kyrie have given them. You know, them and LeBron combined 103 points they scored or assisted on in last night in the closeout game. And you think about Kevin Love, the plus 43 he had last night. He's been giving them unbelievable minutes, his best playoff series as a Cleveland Cavalier. So I think they're stars, their ancillary parts. I think Tyronn Lue is very comfortable right now coaching. But at Golden State, the biggest difference is they defend. You know, at the end of the day, Cleveland is a middling defensive team that shoots 40% of their shots from 3. Golden State does the same, except they defend at a top 3 level. And that, I think, is the big difference in this series.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a little more competitive than people think, especially LeBron's been able to defer to Kyrie when he needs to. And this is different Kevin Love coming into this series than in years past. Prediction? Can I get a pre-Memorial Day Finals prediction out of you? You'll have time to change this, but what do you got on Friday heading into next week?
I'm going to go Warriors in 6. I don't think we get to 7, but I think we get 6. Somebody in this series for Cleveland, if they're going to do it, Ryan, it has to be, forget about the 3 guys for a minute. Maybe they can get Channing Frye like they did last year, making shots, or J.R. Smith. They got to get somebody else to win them at least one game, kind of like what Marcus Smart did with Boston against them. That's how they can do it.
All right, we're looking forward to it. Catch your breath, Jordan.
I don't really want to do that, Rhino.
You're
Play
ready.
a little golf like you.
You were finals right. Hit the links, relax.
Yeah.
We'll get to it next week. Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks,
Appreciate it, man. All right, our next guest has never been shy about speaking his mind. Whether it's sports, pop culture, or hip-hop, Charlamagne the God has an opinion, and it's usually a strong one. SI's Priya Desai recently caught up with the radio host to chat about his new book and, of course, LaVar Ball and his impact on the NBA.
He's the co-host of The Breakfast Club, host of the show Uncommon Sense on MTV2. He can be seen on Guy Code and Girl Code on MTV, and of course the popular podcast Brilliant Idiots. And now he is the author of his first book, Black Privilege. Opportunity comes to those who create it. Welcome, Charlamagne the God.
Hey, let me sit up, get my posture right. Show dog.
Super busy person.
Yes, I am.
Did I miss anything?
No, oh, you didn't say New York Times best-selling
Okay.
author, but whatever. But no, I am a busy person. I used to work at Taco Bell and I used to sell crack. Like this is my kind of busy. I like this kind of busy.
How did you fit in time to write a book?
I thought you about to ask me how did I fit in time to sell crack. I started off the process like most people do. I don't want to say most people, but I would talk. And, you know, my guy would record my voice, my man Chris Moreau. But I just didn't like the way that was turning out, like the way it would be transcribed. So I just would wake up on Saturday mornings and just start writing. So I did that for like a year and a half because Really, it probably took me about a good 7, 8 months to really write the book. But I mean, I used to write. I used to write for like a magazine called Ozone Magazine. I would always write blogs and stuff. So it was just a matter of getting up to fit in the time. Like, you know, you always say you make time for what you want to make time for. So on Saturday morning, instead of sleeping in like I would just get up the normal time I'd get up to do radio, which would be like 4 o'clock. And I would just start writing, and then I'd send it over to Chris, and he would book it up, so to speak.
You were one of the first people to really support the Ball family and LaVar Ball. Magic Johnson, this was just yesterday, he made the comparison that LaVar Ball is no different than Kris Jenner. She wanted to do right by her Kardashian children. It was just yesterday. And make sure her children are successful. It's the same thing with LaVar. Why is it so easy to demonize him? Why do you think that's been happening?
Because he's a black man. Let's be clear about that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much unpacking we could do with that situation. Because number one, when he first said, I want my sons to have a billionaire shoe deal. Okay, that shouldn't bother anybody. Whether he accomplishes that or not, that should not bother you for that man to want the utmost for his children. That's number one. Number two, when he made the comments about, how he didn't want to have his son sign an endorsement deal. Why are you mad that he wants to be an entrepreneur and he actually wants equity instead of just taking a check? Like, that should not hurt anyone's feelings. Like, none of us should be so invested in what LaVar Ball wants for him and his family that we're so quick to want to tear this guy down. Like, I don't understand it. And I don't understand why we're telling his kids to rebel against him. Like, that's literally what people are doing. They're like, Lonzo needs to make his own decisions, and his father should step out the way. You mean to tell me I've been in these boys' life since day one, literally, got them to this point, and now you're telling me I shouldn't be in my son's life. We black men get so much flack for not even, being in their kids' lives now nowadays. And now when you see somebody so invested, you're like, you know what? You shouldn't be so invested. That's the dumbest logic in the world. And I don't understand why we're so hell-bent on, number one, getting his sons to rebel against him, and number two, like, not wanting to see him win as an entrepreneur. Like, I want to see him win. You know why? Because if he wins, he changes the dynamic between sneaker companies and players forever. And now we're going to have a whole crop of, young black men who come in the league and they're like, you know what? I don't just want to sign with Nike. I don't just want to sign with Adidas. I actually would like a partnership. I would like some equity. That's how you create generational wealth.
So is there anything that he could do that crosses the line that may damage his son's career?
I mean, honestly, man, I think the thing that he's done, I think at this point, just conceal your intentions. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what the 4-day laws of power teaches you. It teaches you to conceal your intentions. That's probably the only, I mean, I like the fact he's being vocal, because when you're vocal like that, it's sparking seeds into other people. But if anything, I just think he should conceal his intentions. Like, you don't always got to tell people your plans. You don't always got to tell people what it is that you want to do, what you want to accomplish. I don't think, the only thing that can hurt the Ball family at this point is if Lonzo Ball gets drafted and doesn't produce. Like, if Lonzo Ball goes to the NBA and he's just not a good player. Like, everybody keeps talking about, LaVar Ball's hurting his son. Like, no. If Lonzo goes to the NBA and he doesn't ball out, then it's nothing you can say. Like, he makes his father look crazy. His father's out here the one championing him and saying this is the next guy and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. It all depends on whether or not Lonzo Ball goes to the NBA and produces. That's it.
You think he ends up with the Lakers?
I pray he does. In my world, I want him to end up with the Lakers. I want him to be the greatest rookie that the Lakers have ever seen since Magic Johnson. And I want him to lead them back to the playoffs. I want LA to be in love with him. I want every sneaker company to be like, you know what? We do need to be in business with the big baller brand. Like, 'cause that's what's gonna happen. If Lonzo comes to LA and he's everything LaVar says he is, they're gonna be able to write their own ticket. Period. And LaVar's gonna look like a genius.
There's this idea of athletes staying in their lane. Stay in your lane, stay in your lane. Stick to sports. Why do you think there is such a divide among sports fans? There's your stick to sports people, and then there's those of us who understand that there is a political aspect to a lot of this.
I think, I assume you're speaking about guys like Colin Kaepernick and stuff. Yeah. I think that whenever you have any kind of platform, I think that is your lane. Like, I think that when you have a platform of, celebrity, or you have a platform of media, if you have any type of influence, your lane is to influence. Like, your lane is to speak out about things that may be hurting the community, or you may need to speak out about things that could actually help the community as well. Like when you have a platform, your platform is there for you to speak. Like, you know, if you're going to put a microphone in my face before games, after games, and, you know, you're going to ask me about certain things, I'm going to give you answers. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Colin Kaepernick was volunteering this information. People started noticing Colin Kaepernick kneeling, and then they put the microphone in his face and asked him questions, and he told you exactly how he felt and why he was doing what he was doing. So if you're going to ask me questions, I'm going to answer them. Simple as that.
Are you surprised he hasn't been signed by a team yet?
A little bit, because I just can't believe that you have so many people out here that would really punish someone for doing the right thing. You know, that's another thing that just blew my mind. Like, you're really upset. You're upset that he wouldn't stand for the flag, but shouldn't you be saluting him for standing up for people? Like, you're standing up for oppressed people, marginalized people, people who may be experiencing injustice at the hands of law enforcement in this country. You're standing up for black people, and like, shouldn't he be saluted for that? If we're all American, right? If at the end of the day it's about us being American and us loving one another, shouldn't you be happy that he stood up for people? Like, if you was walking down the street and you saw the American flag on fire and a black person on fire, and you had a fire extinguisher, which one would you put out? If you even have to hesitate to think about that, then that lets me know that the issue ain't even the flag. The issue is your prejudice and your bigotry. So why is Colin Kaepernick being punished for doing the right thing?
It's going to be interesting how it all ends up when the season starts.
Or it could be, like I talk in my book, I talk about divine misdirection. Maybe Colin's calling is bigger than sports. You know, or maybe his calling is to be a voice, you know, to be an activist. Maybe, because he's out here doing a whole lot. Like, I've participated in Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights camps. I've been a mentor at his camps. I support Colin Kaepernick in any way, shape, or form because I see a person that is standing up for the rights of people. And if you're a true American, that's really what it's all about at the end of the day.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the book.
I appreciate you for having me.
It's time for SI Now's Weekend Drive, presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Our first stop takes us to Indianapolis for the 101st running of the Indy 500. Driver and four-time IndyCar Series champion Scott Dixon has managed to snag the pole position for the race for the second time in the past 3 years.
You know, whether we thought we would be on the pole, yeah, you know, we shoot for those goals. You know, that's what we're here to do. You know, I think we would have really liked a couple of wins already too in the season, but, you know, that just didn't play out. But I think everybody in some ways with the team, it was really good to have a change of scenery and a different look at how we need to do things across the board.
Dixon is no stranger to Indy. He won the race from the pole position back in 2008. Next up, some more racing. We take you to Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix. Nico Hülkenberg has secured all of Renault's points this season so far in just his first year with the racing team. He shares his secret to racing Monaco.
Obviously here, you know, it's tough to, you know, push your personal limit higher and higher, and it's just, you know, building up that confidence over the weekend, and then obviously you peak really in that Q3 lap. Last year I remember it was, yeah, a hell of a lap that I was very happy about, so try to do more of the same this year.
Hülkenberg is one of the finest drivers to never score a podium finish. Will this be the race? And lastly, back stateside for the Stanley Cup Final this holiday weekend. Penguins won in a double overtime Game 7 thriller and will now face the Predators. Penguins head coach Mike Sullivan knows his team has battled to get into their second consecutive Cup Final.
I think the fact that they were able to win last year and now put this team in a position to do it again, I think just ignites the fire because of the perspective that they have. They understand how hard it is. And this team has found ways to win all year long, regardless of who's in the lineup. It's the next man up mentality, and these guys just they never look for excuses, and the expectation is high all the time.
This should make for an interesting series. The Preds and Pens played twice in the regular season and split, winning one game apiece. And that's what's in store for this weekend. All right, as we get ready for Memorial Day weekend, our next guests have been shedding some light on a disturbing injustice involving our military veterans. Oakland A's relief pitcher Sean Doolittle and his fiancée and writer Eireann Dolan join us now. And guys, it's Memorial Day weekend. This time of year, we want to honor the veterans who have given so much to our country. You guys wrote a piece together for SI.com about the many veterans who don't have the help or benefits they deserve after serving their country. Sean, why are hundreds of thousands of veterans experiencing these issues right now?
Well, this is an issue with bad paper, and with all the work that we've done with military veterans over the years, both of us come from military families. We kept coming across the statistics regarding suicides in the veteran community, and we wanted to figure out maybe why that was going on. And one issue that kept coming up was the issue of bad paper. And what bad paper basically is service members who are discharged from the military for alleged misconduct, and it's an other than honorable discharge or it's a less than honorable discharge. And what it does is it strips them of their status as a veteran in the eyes of the VA, which in a lot of cases bars them from accessing any VA services. So it's an issue that's really affecting a lot of veterans and kind of pushing them into the margins when they need help the most.
Yeah, you talk about that gray area there that the bad paper veterans are experiencing. Eireann, do you have an example of a bad paper veteran who still needs and deserves some help right now?
There's a couple of articles that we highlighted in the piece. One of them is Chris Goldsmith, who we did a number of briefings with when researching this topic because he himself was directly impacted by the bad paper issue. He had done a year-long deployment in Iraq, and his job there was to document. He was an intelligence officer, and his job was to document some of the things that were going on the ground, the atrocities of the war. You really can't imagine the impact that would have on you. And when he came back, he was having trouble dealing with it and processing it, and developed PTSD, but it had yet to be diagnosed. And when he found out that he was going to have to redeploy, he attempted suicide.
Yeah, and in Chris's case, the offense that gave him this designation in his discharge of other than honorable was attempting suicide. That was the offense because he had attempted suicide the night before his deployment, his second deployment. So the military designated him as other than honorable, which made him ineligible again for these benefits, especially these mental health benefits that he definitely needed.
Yeah, you guys talk about the tragedy, the VA of suicide. The VA found that 20 veterans die by suicide every day. 14 of the 20 are found to not have been enrolled in any VA care. Eireann, talk about the service of the VA and how important that service is for veterans once they come back and return from active duty.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about the VA is it works if you can get in the door, if you can access these services. That's the most important thing. And a lot of these veterans, as you mentioned that statistic, they are not enrolled in VA care services. They are not. They have not tried to because right now there is a backlog, and I think it seems insurmountable for a lot of these veterans who don't know whether they will be eligible even to get services. So, for a lot of these veterans, the most important part is getting in the door and knowing that they are eligible, just knowing that status, and that is really what we're asking.
Guys, the article mentions that standing up for the national anthem is one thing, but these veterans need legitimate help as well. Eireann, how could people help more veterans get the proper care that they rightfully deserve?
I think the most important thing is keeping the pressure on, just being aware of this situation. If you have a veteran in your life, just encourage them to take agency of their own status, try to learn what is accessible to them, and just encourage them to talk. And the best that we can do as civilians is listen.
I think we have to end the stigma surrounding, mental health.
Absolutely.
I mean, so many of these guys either don't access VA services because they can't or because it's viewed as a weakness if they're experiencing some of these symptoms. And I think it's our job as a society really to start talking about some of these issues with mental health. It shouldn't be viewed as their fault that they got deployed to a combat zone and came back with PTSD or a traumatic brain injury.
You guys are doing some great work. I'm sure there are many, many thousands of veterans that appreciate the work that you guys are doing. Sean Doolittle and Eireann Dolan, thanks so much for being with us. You can read the full op-ed piece, of course, on SI.com. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Really great stuff from Sean and Eireann. Some tremendous work they are doing. And that's going to do it for this Friday edition of SI Now. Because of the holiday weekend, we'll be back with you on Tuesday. That's at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Until then, be sure to stick with SI.com for all things sports. And don't forget to follow us on our social media channels. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Enjoy the long weekend. We'll see you next week.
James drove his RAV4 hybrid into Hard Knocks Canyon, where he confronted death again and again. But death would have to wait. He earned a man's gratitude and his shirt. How far will you take the all-new RAV4 hybrid? Toyota, let's go places.